Hey everyone, Mark Montgomery here, and in this video we're going to talk about Early Decision 2. This is a relatively new application program that has come on the scene in the past 3 years, and it is taking the admissions world by storm. So we need to talk about it separately. It's a short little video here, but I think it's worth thinking about Early Decision 2 separately. So let's dive in. So Early Decision 2 is really identical to Early Decision 1, except the deadlines and the notification dates are different. For Early Decision 1, as we've talked about, the deadline for the application is usually November 1, sometimes November 15th, and you learn the results of your application by the 15th of December-ish. For Early Decision 2, it's convenient, especially for those students who don't get in Early Decision 1. They can do their second choice school, also ED. And the deadline for this is January 1, and then you learn the results of the application by February 15th. Now, all the same restrictions that exist for Early Decision 1 also exist for Early Decision 2. You cannot apply to more than one ED school, only one. You must sign the agreement, just as you did with the Early Decision 1, and parents must sign it, the student must sign it, and the college counselor at the high school must also sign it. So everyone agrees that if you are accepted by your ED2 school, you will attend. This is the promise. Remember, the promise to attend of Early Decision. If you are accepted in the Early Decision 2 round, then you put in your deposit to the school that you've applied to, and then you must withdraw all other applications to all other schools and tell them thanks, but no thanks. I don't need to hear from you. I'm going to my ED2 school. Should you apply ED2? Well, the criteria for deciding whether you should apply ED2 are exactly the same as for applying to ED1. So if you already watched that video, you remember that there are 3 things that must be in place for you to apply ED of any sort. First of all, you have to have a school that you actually want that is your, in this case, second choice. So apply ED2 if you can. For some, I will say ED2 is when they actually make their first choice. So if you're late to the game, ED2 may actually be your first choice, but for most students, it's going to be your second choice. So apply there. If you cannot decide on your second choice and you're applying to a highly selective school, make the choice. The bump is going to help you if you meet the other criteria. The second criterion is you must be within the admissibility range of that school. If you are well outside, if you have a low GPA, if you have test scores that stink, no, it's not going to help you, and you're wasting your money, wasting the power of ED2 by applying to a school that you're just not going to get into. So you need to be careful. Don't try for the miracle. It generally doesn't happen. Use your realistic mind and apply to schools for which you are generally in the range and you really hope to attend. Finally, the last criterion is the financial picture. If you are a student with very high financial need and you are applying to a super selective school that has an ED2 option, then you can apply and not worry, because those schools generally meet full financial aid, and if they accept you, they are going to make sure that you can attend, that it's financially feasible for you. So if you have high need, and your EFC and all the things that Lynn O'Shaughnessy has been talking to you about in financial aid, if you have demonstrated financial need, then yeah, apply ED1, ED2, apply ED3, ED4, whatever. It's going to be okay. If you get in, they're going to take care of you. If you also fit this criterion that you do not want any merit-based aid, if you are prepared to pay full price or whatever your EFC is. If that's what you are prepared to pay, you don't want any extra money, you're not expecting any extra money, you are willing to pay the price that they give you, and you've done your homework and you're okay with that, then go ahead, apply early decision 2, just as you would apply early decision 1. So those are the 3 main criteria to help you ensure that you're making the right decision for ED2. So why should you apply early decision 2 if this is offered? Well, it's basically the same rationale for ED1. Number 1, you're going to have an increased chance of admission. Now, many of the spots will already be gone. They will have already been allocated in early decision 1. However, if you are really interested in this school, by demonstrating that interest by applying early decision 2, you do still have a better chance of admission in the ED2 round. You are helping colleges pursue their interests, right? I've talked about this in the other video. You are demonstrating your interest and you are telling them you absolutely will enroll, and that helps them meet their enrollment objectives. You are also helping them to drive their yield rate higher because, again, ED2 still has a 100% yield rate. So that is awesome for the college to move up in the rankings. Secondly, you're helping, or is this third? Maybe it's second? Third, I forget. Anyway, you're also helping to drive the admissions rate down because they are going to take more and more students in the early rounds, and that helps to drive their admissions rate down, which helps move them up in their rankings. So by applying early decision, you're playing a game that is in the interest, the very clear interest of the university. And it could be also in your interest because you are in a pool where you're going to have a better chance of admission if you meet the other conditions. ED2 also can help you if you are maybe just a little bit under the profile. Maybe they still have room for you in the second round of early admission. So if you're just a little under, you might want to go ahead and apply early decision round. In the early decision 2 round, it might be worth your while. But again, if you're far outside the profile, no. But if you're close, just on the edge, on the bubble, okay, it might help you move into that black zone and get in. Finally, the other advantage is you end the process earlier. It's all over by February 15th, and you don't have to go to the very bitter end in May. So if this is you, you may want to apply early decision 2. But we do have to talk about when you might not want to apply early decision 2. Well, the first thing is if you don't have a suitable ED2 option. Not all schools offer ED2, although more and more are. Not every school offers the ED2. Also, if you really cannot make a decision about the schools that remain on your list and you can't come up with that second choice, well, okay, you may not want to do it. But as I tell all of my students, and I push them hard for this early decision, if you are within the range and you really find this school desirable, and maybe you have 3 schools that you find really desirable, any one of them would be great fits for you. Pick one. Because the worst thing that could happen is if you let all 3 go to regular decision and the regular decision acceptance rate is driven down into the single digits, you may not end up with any of those 3. That would be bad. So better to pick one that you eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and go for it, because that's the way the game is played. The colleges are making decisions that are definitely in their interest, and that unfortunately can force you into a decision. Maybe it's premature, but if you've done your homework and you're trying to decide between 3 schools, go ahead. It's okay. You're at least exercising your own power, your own initiative in this process at that point. You're not leaving things to chance, and you're not leaving out the possibility that all 3 of those could reject you. The other reason you might want to forget ED2 is if the actual bump in the acceptance percentages for the school on your list is not that great for early decision, then never mind. And I gave the example in the general introduction to early applications about Puget Sound. The acceptance rate for early decision and the acceptance rate for regular decision are virtually identical, so there's no real point in forcing the decision early because the bump isn't that great. There's not much of a differential. So if there's not a differential, don't worry about it. The other thing is that you may want to be waiting for merit-based scholarships. And if this is really the part of your strategy for your college education and how you're playing this game, then you probably want to take it all the way to the end. If you're looking for merit-based scholarships, ED2, you may lose out on those merit-based scholarships. Depends a little bit on the policies of the college, but I would be careful. If you have any doubt, call the college and ask them. So that's ED2. If you can do it, if you fit the criteria, go for it. If you don't fit the criteria, don't go for it. Pretty simple. As I mentioned in the earlier video about early application programs, this kind of strategy and these things are quite personal and they are pretty complex. So we do recommend that you discuss early decision 1, early decision 2, and all early applications with, number 1, your school guidance counselor, college counselor, but you also want to bring it up on your call with us. If you're talking about which colleges make the most sense and you're going to discuss the application strategy as a part of that. So if you have questions about early decision and the wisdom of you applying, it is a very personal situation and the strategies do vary from one student to the next. So something you may want to talk to us about. So there are other videos about early decision, early action throughout this section. I highly recommend that you look those over and hope they're helpful. And we'll see you on another video. Take care.